Good morning. Today is Friday. It's Good Friday, April 18th, 2025. You found us right here at the weather desk. It's today's top weather headlines. And I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, broadcasting from our studios in Southeast Virginia, specifically Norfolk, Virginia, serving the southeast part of the Commonwealth and Northeast North Carolina. All right, every Monday through Friday, we bring you the weather desk at 9 a.m. and it's time to get into today's topics. We have been tracking some severe storms back across the upper Midwest, and the central part of the country got hit with some tornadoes last evening. We'll take a look at the severe weather threat as we look ahead to the holiday weekend, and I have some Easter outlooks for you as well. This week we've really been focusing forward to the weekend. A lot of folks have outdoor plans, whether it's a sunrise service or maybe you've got an Easter egg hunt with the family. Maybe you've got some little ones you're going to be taking some outdoor pictures with. Lots of fun stuff. And we've got a warming trend here in the mid-Atlantic. I'll show you what's going on across the country for the Easter weekend. Now, our next topic, hard to believe, 119 years ago, back in 1906, the Great San Francisco earthquake. It's right now just a little bit after 9 o'clock. It took place at 5:16 in the morning on the West Coast, 8:16 here on the East Coast. So we're just about 45 minutes or so past the actual 119-year anniversary of the great earthquake, the deadliest earthquake in U.S. history. So we'll revisit that, show you some images. There was the earthquake and the great fire in San Francisco, and just a really heart-wrenching time there. But we learned so much from that earthquake and help planning how we deal with earthquakes and monitor and understanding the threats of earthquakes moving forward. And that was really a good 50 years or so. It occurred before they really had a good handle on plate tectonics. So you think about how much that science has evolved in the last 119 years in understanding earthquakes. It's a big anniversary, and we did learn a lot. All right, we also have a massive sandstorm we're going to update you on. Believe it or not, this sandstorm, which we've got some video from overseas, it's specifically Iraq, it's been the biggest sandstorm they've had this year. Visibility's down less than half a mile and widespread sand. It's a pretty amazing event. We'll show you some of that. And we're going to look ahead to Earth Day 2025. So plenty to go over with on today's weather desk. Let's start off, though, with that severe weather threat. And right now we do have a thunderstorm watch. That's going to run through noon today for parts of Wisconsin around Milwaukee. You can see they are under the gun for some stronger storms. As far as the big picture goes here on the East Coast, we've got high pressure in control. There's one area of high pressure centered down over the Gulf, and there's one just off the coast of North Carolina. This combination is producing a south and southwest flow here in the Mid-Atlantic, driving our temperatures up. Yesterday, as this high was centered over the East Coast, we had a little bit more of a light north component, and then it kind of came onshore before this thing moved farther offshore, and now we're seeing the south winds. Yesterday's high, only 64 in Norfolk, and today we're looking at highs in the upper 70s, close to 80. It's going to be even warmer heading into the weekend. Here's this area of low pressure back in the central U.S. Again, this one responsible for some of the severe weather and the tornadoes that we saw develop yesterday. That front extends back out across southern Kansas and back into Colorado, another area of low pressure with another front extending out across California. Out ahead of this, very warm and windy conditions once again for parts of the Southwest. There are still red flag warnings up for parts of New Mexico. Want to focus on the strong storms, and there are a couple clusters here rolling through southern parts of Wisconsin. You see the severe thunderstorm watch. It does include Dane, Jefferson, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Racine, Rock, Washington, these different counties in southern parts of Wisconsin and some of the cities here as well. Things have certainly quieted down right now across Omaha, both north and south, but that was a different story last evening. Take a look at those cells right there as they moved along. Those produce tornadoes, and we'll let this loop play out one more time. You'll see how they develop, and there they go, both north and south of Omaha. So what I want to do is I want to take you back with our storm reports, and you can see Lots of hail reported across parts of Minnesota. Some heavier rain across parts of Minnesota as well. A little bit of mixed precipitation. There was some hail and some damaging winds. As you come south, though, around the Omaha area, as we zoom in, you're going to see there were two cells, that one that passed north and south of Omaha, that had a history of producing the tornadoes, those two cells. So let's take you back in time and start off with this storm report from the city of Waverly. That was at 7:24. That cell continued to move to the east. And again, this was first reported and relayed on social media. All right, they then had live video of this. There was a feed that showed the tornado and a tornadic debris signature confirming that tornado as it worked to the east and eventually continued off to the east, impacting the city of Essex. That was at 9 o'clock. So you're talking about an hour and a half or so between the first reports out around Waverly, excuse me, and 9 o'clock when it was picking apart power poles and snapping trees and shed material strewn across the roadway there in Essex. So that was a cell that was very powerful. Then we had this one off to the north of Omaha, and you can see around Bennington at 7:41. Again, that worked to the east. There's another report around 8:32 out in Oakland. So couple of cells with a history of those tornadoes. That was in the upper Midwest, specifically both north and south of Omaha, Nebraska. What about today? The severe weather outlook? Well, you can see again, we do have that threat of severe storms, a watch in place for southern Wisconsin. But you can see later today from Indiana and Illinois across Missouri, St. Louis very much in the heart of it, Springfield, Missouri, down through Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, all in that level 2 threat. And then areas north and west of Dallas, kind of on the fringe there. As we take a look at the tornadic threat today, it's a lower threat, but there's still a chance that there could be some rotating cells. A little bit greater threat down across Oklahoma. It goes to a level 2 threat. And again, these numbers, these colors representing areas where there's a 2% chance in green of a tornado forming within 25 miles of any point in this green. That jumps up to 5% for this area shaded in kind of that brownish color in Oklahoma. So this is the area a little more likely to see some rotation later today if we do get some of those supercells developing. We're certainly going to be watching for that. And also you see the hail potential. We've got significant hail potentially across parts of Oklahoma into Texas. So a lot to watch later today in the central U.S. How about tomorrow? We're heading into that holiday weekend. And again, Saturday, looking to be stormy from southern Missouri across Arkansas, Oklahoma, and much of central Texas. There's a level 1 threat that extends out across the Ohio River Valley. By Sunday, Easter, we're looking at the severe weather threat again from St. Louis on down through southern Missouri, back down across Arkansas, most of Arkansas under a level 2 or slight risk, and then northern parts of Louisiana and northeast Texas. That's the severe weather outlook through Sunday. Just wanted to pass along the flash flood potential through Saturday morning and let you know some potentially heavy rain in this area as well. And they have had so much rain in this part of the country, they really could use the break. You take a look at the flooding potential Saturday morning into Sunday, and it goes up to that level 3 moderate from southern parts of St. Louis back across northwest Arkansas and Oklahoma into north central Texas. So again, this is an area that's already seen a lot of rain. Think about like the Ozark Scenic Riverways, beautiful, beautiful river country back in the south central part of Missouri down into Arkansas. But a lot of rain down there could lead to some more headaches as we go Saturday morning into Sunday. And then on Sunday morning into Monday morning, just general kind of level 1 threat. There could be some locally heavy downpours in the central part of the country. All right, we'll take a look again at the national picture here. And as I mentioned, we've got high pressure controlling things on the East Coast. Things are actually looking pretty good here. But back out across parts of New Mexico, we don't have the high wind warnings that we've seen over the past couple of days, but there is still a wind advisory, and we still have the red flag warnings up for this part of the country. Again, parts of New Mexico and Texas with gusty winds and very dry air. So that combination creating some issues. And again, that severe weather threat off to the east of that. All right, we're going to take a look at Easter. And have you ever wondered why the date of some holidays change while others stay the same? Meteorologist Evan Stewart explains what determines the date of Easter each year.
Well, Well, have you ever wondered about the date of Easter, why it can change from year to year? Well, it all has to do with different types of calendars, whether it's the Gregorian calendar, the Julian calendar, solar or lunar calendars. And it's all a complex computation that really changes the date of Easter from year to year. As a matter of fact, Easter is what we call a movable feast, unlike a fixed feast, say like Christmas. Of course, the date can move. And the date is determined by something called the computation, or computus in Latin, and it involves a lot of different things. Here's the easiest way to think of the date of Easter. It is the Sunday after the full moon that occurs on or after the spring equinox. Now, this year we had the spring equinox on March 19th, had a full moon on March 25th, so this year Easter is March 31st. But because of this, Easter date can change quite a bit, and it's because the lunar calendar, which is 29.5 days, and the Gregorian calendar that we use, they're not in sync. Of course, our calendar months usually have 30 or 31 days, whereas this lunar calendar is only 29.5 days, and that results in everything just sort of being out of sync. So Easter can be any Sunday stretching from March 22nd all the way to April 25th. And those extremes have happened, although it's not very often that they do. As a matter of fact, the last time we had Easter on March 22nd was way back in 1818, and that won't happen again until 2285. However, the late date of Easter, April 25th, that happened last in 1943. Now that's a little complex because the full moon was on March 20th. Of course, that's before the spring equinox, which is usually March 21st. So the next full moon was April 18th. That was a Sunday, so we have to wait for the Easter or the Sunday afterwards for Easter to happen on April 25th. And that won't happen again until 2038. So we only have about 14 years to go before we see that late Easter date. Now, of course, not all Christians celebrate Easter on the same Sunday. The Catholic and Protestant churches use the Gregorian calendar, whereas Eastern Orthodox churches use the Julian calendar. So Easter for Eastern Orthodox religions can be quite a bit later, as it is this year. Of course, Easter is also tied into Passover, and that changes, at least on the Gregorian calendar. However, the Hebrew calendar, or Jewish calendar, Passover always starts on the 15th day of Nisan, which is the first month of that Hebrew calendar. And that's because the Jewish calendar uses a lunar cycle, and every few years they have to add another month to that calendar. So it can be quite complex, but that's why Easter changes. It's all these different calendars that we've been using for hundreds of years. And that's why Easter can be any time from March 22nd all the way to April 25th.
It's really good stuff, Evan. A lot goes into it, obviously, several different calendars in play. What I can tell you is this Sunday, the United States is celebrating Easter, and you can see, again, temperatures here in Norfolk around 79, but I've got even more information I'm going to share with you on the Easter weekend and what's coming up. Let's start off with a look at kind of the big picture here with the Euro over the eastern two-thirds of the country. High pressures dominating today. A lot of sunshine. Things look good for Saturday. A surge of warm weather, as you can see, heading into the Easter weekend. That wet weather stays out to the west. Here's our storm system, and I mentioned the severe weather threat back across the middle part of the country on Easter Sunday. As that tracks along, we're going to see those chances for heavier storms later in the day. And then that's going to pull up into the Great Lakes. As we go into next week, there'll be a chance for showers around here, maybe late Monday, but better chances on Tuesday and maybe some wet weather down to the south on Wednesday. It looks like Thursday there'll be a chance for a few isolated showers as well, especially to the south. Let's get into the travel forecast and Easter Sunday all this week here on the Weather Desk. We've been looking ahead. We do this a lot for some big travel holidays across the country, certainly like Thanksgiving and Christmas when we have different things to talk about. We'll give you days and days of forecast information for those holiday weekends. For Easter Sunday, New York City, 66, 60 in Boston. It's going to be warm in Raleigh, 77. Orlando is looking at a high of about 87, 88 degrees all week. That has not changed. Partly sunny skies. New Orleans, more cloud cover, 82, but the storminess is back across the central U.S. Chicago, St. Louis, wet. Little Rock, storms. Oklahoma City, stormy. Dallas, good chances for showers and some thunderstorms potentially down in Houston. That wet weather extending all the way up through Omaha, up through Iowa. Even southern parts of Minnesota could see a little wet weather. Out west, beautiful for the southwest U.S. Loving this. San Francisco and L.A. Temperatures mid-60s, mid-80s around Vegas and Phoenix. 67 in Salt Lake. You get up to Billings, not looking too bad. Some snow back over the Grand Tetons, and beautiful there through the Rockies up into Montana. Some unsettled weather, showers, and then, of course, snow for the highest elevations once you get up into the Rockies. Looking back around Seattle, a little unsettled, chances for a few showers up that way. So that's a look at what's going on across much of the country. For Hampton Roads, I mentioned the surge of warmer air up to 86 for Saturday's high. It's going to be a warm one. Even at the beaches this weekend, we're talking low 80s, so a great Saturday. On Sunday, I wanted to point out two things. One, we've got a little more cloud cover in the mix. I think we'll probably see a little more cloud cover than sunshine, but still some peaks of sunshine in there. Rain chances still very, very low. But we've got a backdoor front dropping into the area, and behind that front, temperatures are going to cool right along the coast. Talking about the eastern shore over to Virginia Beach, maybe the north end up around areas along the Chesapeake Bay as well, over to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. As we go through the afternoon, Sunday's going to continue to be very warm for inland areas and areas down to the south. So that's one of those days where I think officially the high will be in the upper 70s. That'll come late morning, and then during the afternoon, those temps fall back down into the 60s, while inland areas stay in the upper 70s, close to 80 degrees. Let's take a look at some of those weekend getaways. We've also been featuring this a lot this week. You can see temperatures around D.C., back towards Richmond and Charlottesville, all close to 88 on Saturday. Mix of clouds and sunshine. A bit breezier on Saturday at 77. Cooler at the Outer Banks, 73 on Sunday. These temperatures for D.C., Richmond, and Charlottesville. Cooler than Saturday, but not too bad. Still pretty warm across the region for this Easter weekend. So that's a look at what's going on. Right now, we're going to take a look at the earthquake activity, and you can see things quiet along the East Coast. There have been a handful of little tremors over West Texas, but we're going to focus up on California here. All of these little earthquakes this morning reported within the last 12 hours or so, as I've been checking, they've all been between 1.0 and 1.5 or 1.6 on the Richter scale. All very, very minor, a lot of them not even noticed at all. So nothing major going on right now. But it was a totally different story around San Francisco, because on this date, back in 1906, the deadliest earthquake in U.S. history struck San Francisco, followed by raging fires across the city. The violent aftershocks lasted some 45 to 60 seconds, and it is now believed more than 3,000 people were killed by the quake and the fires following. That was estimated to have reached, that earthquake, 8.3, the magnitude on the Richter scale. Absolutely tremendous. And you take a look at the devastation there. Again, many lessons learned, and then the whole understanding of plate tectonics and the fault lines and how different ground structure and the substrate of different, areas really sustained terrible damage in some places and not as much in others. Places that were on bedrock didn't feel the same incredible shaking that other areas that were kind of reclaimed, parts of the San Francisco Bay that were reclaimed and kind of built up to build. They fill some of the bay and start to build up on land that they basically create. Those were just shook down to, nothing. I mean, it just didn't stand up at all, while other areas with bedrock stood up a lot better, as you would imagine. Want to turn your attention down to Southern California, and you remember last week, a lot of people were caught off guard when a 5.6 magnitude earthquake struck Southern California. That was off to the northeast of San Diego. But over at the San Diego Zoo, check this out. If you haven't seen this video, it's incredible. This herd of elephants, they knew what to do and sprung into action. Security video from inside their habitat shows the elephants quickly forming what's called an alert circle around two young calves. You can see the elephants put their backs to the two young calves in the middle, and they stand guard looking for whatever trouble that they may be facing. The zookeepers say these gentle giants have the unique ability to feel sounds through their feet. With more on what causes those tremors that can lead to earthquakes, let's go back to meteorologist Evan Stewart.
Fault lines are fractures or breaks in the Earth's crust where tectonic plates moved past each other, oftentimes resulting in earthquakes. These geological features are classified into three main types: normal, reverse, and strike-slip faults. And each type reflects different forces acting within the Earth and plays a key role in shaping the planet's surface. Normal faults occur when the crust is stretched or pulled apart by tensional forces. In this type of fault, the block of rock above the fault plane moves downward, creating sinking land. Normal faults are normally found in divergent plate boundaries, such as the mid-ocean ridge or continental rift zones. Reverse faults, in contrast, form when regions of the crust are being pushed together or compressed. And these compressional forces cause the rock bed to move upward relative to the surroundings. Reverse faults are more common at convergent plate boundaries where those tectonic plates collide. Finally, strike-slip faults involved a side-by-side horizontal movement with little to no vertical displacement. In these types of faults, the blocks of rock slide past each other. Now, one of the most well-known examples is the San Andreas Fault in California. That's where the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate grind past one another. Now, each type of fault line represents a different kind of stress, tension, compression, or shear acting on the Earth's crust.
All right, Evan, again, more great information from my colleague, Evan Stewart. Love those bits of weather knowledge, and in that case, earthquake knowledge. Now you know. All right, we're going to turn our attention from earthquakes to a different kind of natural phenomenon. We're going to spin the globe and head over to Iraq, and specifically the southern provinces. I want you to take a look at this video. A heavy sandstorm swept into all provinces in southern Iraq on Monday. In some areas, visibility was reduced down to a handful of meters. Iraq is prone to seasonal sandstorms, but experts and officials have raised alarm over their frequency in the coming years, or in the recent years, which they say has been exacerbated by record low rainfall. And again, it's another indication that it may be one of those impacts from climate change they continue to study. Again, back across Iraq, you can see the wind field here, and that sandstorm was pretty amazing with that reduced visibility. Again, the worst of the season so far, and there were estimates of over 1,800 people with respiratory issues from all that sand, including a number of people with suffocation. They just could not breathe. They had to find oxygen. So pretty crazy stuff over there. All right, here we're going to take a look at Earth Day, and you can see, again, Earth Day's coming up. Before you know it, it'll be here Tuesday, April 22nd, so just a handful of days away. And the climate holiday is celebrated annually, raising awareness about environmental issues while encouraging actions we can all take to protect our planet. ABC News Chief Climate Correspondent Ginger Z shares how you can help fight climate change.
Spring is blossoming earlier. We have warmer winters. We see and feel the impacts of human-amplified climate change every day. Some people might think it's too late to fix it, but Climate Action Now, a company dedicated to fighting climate change, says it's not too late.
10 years ago, when I got started, scientists thought that we were heading towards a world with 4 to 5 degrees of warming. That is catastrophic amount of warming. Today, just 10 years later, the consensus forecasts are that we're heading towards a world with 2 to 3 degrees warming. Now, that's still really, really, really bad, but it's way better. It tells you that we're doing a lot of the right things.
According to the Environmental Protection Agency, human-amplifying climate change mainly comes from the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and methane gas. The theme of this year's Earth Day is Our Power, Our Planet, focusing on renewable energy, things like wind or solar, with a goal to triple the global generation of clean electricity by 2030.
The world has made incredible progress in the last 10 years on renewables, driving down the costs of solar and wind and deploying them around the world, so it's such that it's become the dominant form of energy.
Climate Action Now says doing even one small thing creates solutions for the future. They offer an app giving you easy ways to do your part.
While they take action with the app, they earn points, and when they earn enough points, we will actually plant a real tree on their behalf.
So if you're ever feeling like there's no way to help the planet, remember, there is, and every action counts.
There is a lot of despair these days around climate, and we have found that when people are feeling depressed or anxious, if they simply take an action, they'll feel better.
With this Climate Minute, I'm Ginger Z.
All right, Ginger, as we take a look at our forecast, I want to set up what we've actually been dealing with over the last week or so. Last Friday, we were at 61, chilly on Saturday at 54, back up to 62 on Sunday, and then it got really warm. We were up into the 80s on Monday. We were also pretty warm on Tuesday, and then things cooled down around Norfolk Wednesday and Thursday. It was beautiful, lots and lots of sunshine, but we had a cool north and northeast breeze. That held our temperatures in check around Norfolk International Airport. As we look forward today, we're getting back into the upper 70s, and going forward, we're going to be in the mid 80s tomorrow. So we do have another warm up coming into the weekend. We'll look for more clouds and sunshine on Easter. We touched on that Easter forecast, and it's going to turn a little cooler along the coast on Easter Sunday as well. The next good chances for rain would come late Monday night, and I really think Tuesday is when we'll see isolated to scattered wet weather. Looks like somebody just turned off the sky view. Let's take this full, and I'm going to walk over and switch up the view because, you know, you're sitting here watching. You want to see one of our sky views, right? Let's go ahead and check things out. We'll go up to Newport News. There you go. That's at the Langley Federal Credit Union, our Thompson Creek Window Company sky view there. I can show you the view south from Town Center and Virginia Beach. Plenty of sunshine there, looking really good. Now, as we take a look from the Jordan Bridge, beautiful sunshine, just a few high, thin clouds. All in all, a lovely, lovely day here in Southeast Virginia. All right, we'll take a look at the conditions out there and at the airport. 62 degrees, south winds. This is the key to the forecast. So south winds are going to drive our temperatures up. Right now, we're still in the 50s and low 60s across much of the area. But hey, you know, we're not even to 9:30 yet this morning, and temperatures this afternoon will get above the normal high. That's 71. Today, we're going to be in the upper 70s. So we'll take a peek ahead, and again, by midday lunchtime, low 70s. What a gorgeous day. Upper 70s this afternoon, low 80s for some inland spots. As we get into the evening, skies mainly clear. Tomorrow, it's going to be a very warm day. Temperatures getting up into the mid 80s. So we'll enjoy the warm up, a little taste of summer here coming early on your Saturday. On Easter Sunday, we'll start off sunrise services, temperatures mid to upper 60s, so very mild if you've got outdoor plans on Sunday. And then later Sunday, during the afternoon, we're going to see cooler air work down along the coast, knocking us back into the 50s. It will remain a little bit milder for inland locations. Looking ahead to Monday, I think we're still dry, and then Tuesday, that's when we'll see that chance for wet weather. UV index, just checked it before starting this edition of the Weather Desk. For Norfolk, we're at 7.4. That is a high level, about 30 minutes or less to burn, so remember the sunscreen if you're going to go out and take advantage of all the beautiful sunshine out there. Out on the water today, we have the potential small craft advisory going up late afternoon and into the evening. The winds have been fairly light this morning, but they are going to pick up more like 10 to 20 knots there on the bay, and we could see some gusts of 25 knots on the ocean water. So just wanted to give you that heads up. Water temperatures now for the bay and the ocean in the mid 50s. Allergy levels, tree pollen is high. It's been extreme for days and days and days. Today, high. We will see those levels going back up a little bit more tomorrow. Temperatures today, as I mentioned, upper 70s, low 80s for inland areas. Beautiful from Virginia Beach through Franklin, Suffolk, Smithfield, up around Williamsburg. Gorgeous on the campus of William and Mary. 79 for Hampton and Newport News. 69, cooler over at Cape Charles. Melford, 68. 72 at Matthews. Down across northeast North Carolina, low to mid 70s at the Outer Banks. Upper 70s to low 80s for inland parts of northeast North Carolina. Tonight's low down around 62, mainly clear. A little bit cooler, 50s inland, but really nice. Tomorrow back up to 86, mostly sunny, breezy, and obviously very warm. Here's the rest of the 7-day forecast. I mentioned those temperatures turning a little cooler on Sunday, still above average. Temperatures will remain in the upper 70s Monday and Tuesday. That scattered wet weather comes back into play on Tuesday. Maybe a few showers down across North Carolina on Wednesday, lower chances for Hampton Roads. And then on Thursday, isolated showers will be possible again. We could use a little bit of rain as we get into the middle of next week, so that's not a bad thing. For now, we're going to focus on beautiful weather heading into what will be a great Easter weekend. Let me remind you, if you are ever concerned about the forecast or about news happenings around Hampton Roads, your ultimate source for weather, radar, also news information, our 13 News Now app. Scan that QR code, download the app right now. It is free, and all of this information is always available at your fingertips. What a pleasure it's been with you all this week. Hopefully you're enjoying the Weather Desk. The feedback that we get here at the station's been awesome. We're getting more and more viewership. Folks are finding us. So if you have friends, maybe you know somebody that would be interested in knowing more about the weather with these deeper dives into what happens here locally and nationally and internationally, tell them about the Weather Desk. We're here every Monday through Friday on 13 News Now Plus, starting at 9 a.m. Have a great weekend.